Me now, co-host of the Naughty But Nice podcast, pop culture commentator, and a Grammy voting member, Corey Andrew. Thank you for being here as we celebrate Tony Bennett and his legacy this morning. I mean, there's just so much to say about his voice and the person he was. What do you think made him so special to music?
Oh, wow. There's so many things. And I must say, I am a fan of Tony's. Personally, he's one of the greatest singers ever. More importantly than just his music, he was also an amazing gentleman. He was a philanthropist as well. People don't know that he actually donated a lot of time and money to charities, AIDS research and cancer. And he just was a good man all around. So many people cross-generationally wanted to either work with him or be his friend. He was like everyone's favorite uncle. He was just a really wonderful man.
He was also an artist, too. So in addition to his musical talent, he liked to paint and draw, and he was an artist in so many other ways.
Yes, also, he loved to paint, but he also loved to write. And he actually penned 3 best-selling books. So part of his legacy, if you will, is that he shared his journey. He shared that he was this little boy from, Queens, New York, born in 1926, who became a star in the late 50s or so. And that journey along the way and his journey as a later person in life, he wanted to share those experiences. So he has 3 best-selling books that talk about just enjoying life. Life is a gift, and understanding that we all have a purpose. So yeah, he just was a well-rounded individual.
And talk about his voice, Corey, because it was unlike any other, yet he is in a category with people like Dean Martin, Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr., Nat King Cole. I mean, you name it. He was part of the Rat Pack, even if he wasn't. I mean, his voice was so deep and unique. What was it that set him apart?
One of the things that separates most singers, there's a tonality. A lot of vocalists out there today, no names, but they will do all these vocal gymnastics and riffing and all these things trying to, get a song out. Tony had a tone that was so remarkable, and it was calming, it was soothing, yet powerful with a strong resonance. And everyone could relate to it. I mean, he and Frank Sinatra, I would say, and Dean Martin perhaps too, but I think Frank and Tony were like the bookends of what all vocalists, male vocalists, aspire to be. And he just was a natural talent. Amazing.
Yeah. No, he was. And Corey, the other thing that I think is remarkable is how others responded to him. I mean, somebody with a voice like Lady Gaga, and you could see she was in awe of being in his presence. I mean, she looked up to him, and he just had this wonderful smile and kind of a twinkle in his eyes, and you could see how that impacted somebody as big of a musical artist as her. Why was that?
Well, she was classically trained. She's also very proudly Italian. And I think they shared a lot of very similar interests as far as, where they were from. Both New Yorkers, of course. And they had a really serious, almost like father and daughter relationship, because she had grown up listening to him. And here she was now getting to be on stage with this amazing person she grew up with. I mean, it must have been very surreal for her as well. But let's not forget, he did duets with Amy Winehouse. He did duets with Michael Bublé, Christina Aguilera. Like, all the younger artists today wanted to work with Tony. So he was cross-generational for so many of them.
Yeah, he transcended so many different musical genres and could work with anybody. I mean, you could picture him with just about anyone, and all those in his presence would look up to him. It was just amazing. Talk about the last few years of his life and the impact music continued to have on him after he was diagnosed with Alzheimer's.
Yeah, well, the diagnosis came in 2016. His family had shared that. And it was the onslaught, if you will, of Alzheimer's. And as we know, that's a disease that can really impact memory, and to the point where people don't even sometimes know who they are anymore. It's a very debilitating disease. So he was able, though, to continue performing. So from 2016, when he first was diagnosed, he still had a lot of years, about 5 years in there. He was performing on tour with Lady Gaga. And his family said that there were times when he didn't know where he was. He didn't even know what was going on around him. However, when he stepped out on stage with Gaga, he knew every word and did not miss a beat. So that shows you not just the power of who he was as a man, also it speaks to the power of music.
Right, and that music was just thread through his soul. I mean, it was who he was. I Left My Heart in San Francisco. There's so many great ones. Do you have a favorite Tony Bennett song?
I do, and I get goosebumps even as you ask the question. The Good Life.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.